Let's go live on another bicycle live stream on a perfect winter's morning, July the 4th at 7:40 a.m. I've ridden 25 kilometers, just riding home. It's cool, 10.5 degrees Celsius. Let's get into it. Why has speculation gone crazy this year? 2020, the year of, well, it's hard to describe what it's a year of. Well, this morning's topic is going to talk about that. It's something that I've been thinking about in the last week. But let's start with something that happened this week, a few days ago. The eminent, well-renowned, plant-based surgeon and doctor, Dr. Garth Davis, put a post on his page which really summed up the crazy speculation that has been occurring. He said he did something that he didn't want to do, but he said he had to do it because of how crazy the speculation has gone. He turned off commenting on his social media, on his Facebook page. He said it was either that or he left social media altogether because he said it had gotten out of control, that it was just completely ridiculous, the amount of mental speculation that untrained people were coming up with. Now, he's a professional. He knows what he's on about. He's been the co-author of a book called Proteinaholics, and he's a surgeon. He's an eminent plant-based doctor, well respected. And if you're not aware of Dr. Garth Davis, I certainly suggest you, look into him a bit further. For him to get to that point, this is a guy that doesn't mince words. This is a guy that tells it like it is. He's not afraid to tell it like it is, and I got to tell you, I admire him. I admire his strength, his conviction. He just comes out there and he doesn't mind if he pisses you off or not. He's going to tell it like it is. And he's got the experience. He's got the credentials to back it up. He's not somebody that's sitting at home watching YouTube videos and going, oh yeah, that's what's happening in the world. No, this is a guy that knows his shit. He knows what he's talking about. So when a person like Garth Davis comes out and says, I'm turning off commenting, it has gotten ridiculous, it's just, crazy what people are coming up with, then, that's a really important thing that has occurred this week. So just in relation to that, if you look back, I think yesterday morning, I shared about 5 of his posts in relation to wearing masks, in relation to the official figures for the coronavirus, in relation to a couple of other things, all of them based on his actual experience and his professionalism. So this is not somebody who's just formed an opinion with no credentials or no understanding of what's going on. This is somebody that we can actually go, oh, shit, you're on the front line, you're working in a hospital, you know what's going on. So these are the sort of people that we can completely rely on for the information that we need in order to know what's going on. So let's step back a bit. Why has mental speculation gone crazy this year? Well, I wrote a little thing yesterday and I'll read it out to you, and then I'll talk about the effect of isolation on our mental state. And this will help you to understand why we are seeing what we are seeing going on at the moment, with people just going off on absolute crazy tangents. So, what I wrote was that our opinions are meaningless. My opinion, your opinion, it's meaningless. It is based on limited, flawed information from our senses. And as I learned a few years ago in the Landmark Forum, we don't know what we don't know. I don't know what I don't know. You don't know what you don't know. The full version of that we're taught in the Landmark Forum is, you know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know Now, I probably got that wrong. But anyway, the last bit is you don't know what you don't know. So, where is it? How's that? I'm trying to remember it. I stuffed it up. We know what we know. And we know what we don't know, but we don't know what we don't know. Something like that. Anyway, the important bit is we don't know what we don't know. Why? Because our senses, our input for our computer, for the brain, the computer, our senses are easily fooled. They are restricted. I've talked about this many times before. Our senses are so limited. We can't see. We can only see such a narrow bandwidth of light with our eyes. We can only hear such a narrow band of sound. There are many animals, I've said this before, there are many animals that can see and hear and smell way beyond what we can. It's embarrassing how limited our senses are. In addition to that, we have a mind that is never still. It is always jumping from one conclusion to the next, from one idea to the next. And, you know, I've seen this not only in myself, but of course I've seen this in many of my friends when I've just observed that, you know, they will literally one day conclude that their life is going to take a certain direction, and they're like, that's it, that's what I'm going to do today. Then the next day, or even that same day, their mind has grabbed hold of them and shot them off in a different direction. And I'm left just going, wow, are you aware of how controlled you are by your mind? So basically, opinions are meaningless. I'm not interested in people's opinions. I'm interested in what is everlasting, which I described in this thing that I wrote yesterday as the universal laws. The laws, they're not opinions, universal laws. This is important. This doesn't, you know, a universal law exists regardless of you and I. It exists. It's not reliant on our opinion. So universal laws of spiritual truth. It doesn't matter whether you believe in them or not. They exist beyond your belief, your comprehension, your agreement on them. Doesn't matter. And universal laws don't care whether you believe in them or not. Your opinion is meaningless to the universal laws that exist. Absolutely meaningless. And you can yell and scream all you like, but it has no value. When you understand that, you start to understand things a little bit clearer. So the universal laws of spiritual truth, of eternal love, eternal spiritual love, of compassion and morality and ethics, and scientific discovery. These are not opinions. These are immutable, universal laws. And these are not subject to change if they are universal laws, because they are eternal. So they are way beyond opinions, and they will never have anything to do with our opinions. And as I say, our opinions in relation to them are meaningless. So why have we seen so many crazy speculative ideas come up? It's because people have gone into a state that they have not normally been in. A lot of us have gone into a state of isolating more from our workmates. We may not have even been working. Isolating from our family, isolating from our friends, from our social structure. And the danger with doing this, is it lets the mind go wild. The mind, if it is not kept in control by a spiritual process, will just go all over the shop. It's just, you know, this is the nature of the mind. It is forever active, forever suggesting solutions to problems that don't exist. It has to do that. That is the nature of the mind. Good luck trying to calm your mind without a spiritual blanket. Without a spiritual blanket, we stand no chance of bringing the mind into the degree of control that we need it to be. It will just control us rather than us controlling it. So that's important to remember. We need a spiritual blanket in order to bring a state of balance back to the mind. So people sitting at home speculating. Now that speculation reached a point where people actually use their skills in a negative way to create false images, false videos, doctored images and doctored videos, just to try and prove a point. Morning! Just to try and prove a point that they are right. Coming back to opinions, false ego, every person wants to think they're right. So just to prove it, we have seen manipulated images and videos come out. We have seen speculation of things, speculative ideas that were brought out months ago, and with the benefit of time, we can look at it and say, well, was those speculative ideas correct? And, I wrote a couple down here. The big one that I noticed, and there's been quite a few of them, but a few months back, probably 3-4 months back, was people saying, in relation to the coronavirus is caused by 5G, and 5G has an effect on it. And they're saying, that's why Russia has no cases of the virus. Russia ended up being the biggest hotspot, second biggest hotspot, I think, and followed by Iran and other third world countries that don't even have any 5G. In fact, they're still on 3G. It's like, so that one's wrong, completely wrong, shot down. As Chris says, too much misinformation everywhere. Chris, I want to pick up on that point. Back in the 90s, a friend of mine that worked for me, Steve, he said the commodity of the future, that the thing that's going to be worth the most will be information. And, he was right. But what he didn't foresee was that the thing that is going to prove to be our downfall is the misinformation. So okay, supposedly the virus wasn't happening in countries without 5G, so completely wrong. Then there were people saying, the lockdown won't be removed without a vaccine. Completely wrong. Then there was a guy, I think he's an Australian guy, saying you can only get the virus through injection. Completely wrong. It's embarrassing. I would be embarrassed to come out as a non-professional with non-experience and say any of this stuff. I'd just be completely it's just embarrassing. I wouldn't want to show my face in public again. If I'd made a claim like that, which was easily disproved. When you make a falsifiable claim that can be easily disproved, your credibility is shot to pieces. So this has been happening because people have been isolated and the mental speculation has gone wild. So you have got theorists that are just sitting at home and without any spiritual balance, their mind is just out of control. And it's actually sad because left to its own devices, the mind can get more and more out of control and can unfortunately result in different degrees of psychosis. And it's, we see too much of this in the world as it is. And as Helen says, it's a complete lack of scientific fact that gets to me. Yes, Helen. Yes, exactly. Everyone's got an opinion, but opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. They're not worth anything. And Chris says the people who have control of the information via the internet spread the false information. Well, see, we don't know what we don't know. This is a problem. You don't know that. So the problem is, I don't know it either. Nobody can know that for certain. So what is the point in us speculating on it? Let's stick with verifiable scientific facts. Let's stick with the universal laws of spiritual truth, of eternal love, of ethics, morality, and compassion, and scientific discovery. When we stick with that, we can share information that is useful, not information that is at its core completely dishonest and confusing and of no value. It's valueless. It's anyone following the trail that goes down the rabbit hole is just going to be stuck not knowing which way up is. So bike's feeling a little bit funny. I hope I haven't got a flat tire. I do have a lot of fruit and veg on. So okay, I hope you've gotten something from that. As Chris says, rely on intuition. Yes, Chris, definitely. But we have to qualify that, because for most of us, what we think is intuition, in other words, the universal truth coming from our heart, for most of us, 99.9% of it, us, it's not. It's mental speculation. It's very rare for a soul to still their mind enough to actually hear the inner truth. And Helen says, thanks for your wise words, Harry. Thanks for watching, Helen. Hope you guys get something out of this. As a conclusion, what can we do with all this misinformation? Well, let's not give it any power. Let's not share it. Let's not confuse people, because it's not doing a service to anyone. A service to people is if we're sharing universal laws of spiritual truth, eternal love, and scientific discovery. Anything else that comes from the person's opinion and speculation is just not helpful. Have a great day. We've got a perfect day for our vegan luck in the park today. So for those that are coming along, look forward to catching up with you guys. It's been too long. And yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a corker of a day. So live vegan and save lives. And I'll speak to you soon. Ahimsa.